Moon landing, 1969. On July 20, 1969, the Apollo 11 mission successfully landed astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the moon. It was an extraordinary moment as Armstrong famously took his first step onto the lunar surface, uttering the words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." The Apollo 11 mission, launched by NASA, successfully landed the astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the moon on July 20, 1969. The mission was a major milestone in human space exploration and is considered one of the greatest achievements in history. After the lunar module named Eagle touched down on the moon's surface in the region known as the Sea of Tranquility, Neil Armstrong became the first person to set foot on the lunar surface. As he took his first step, he famously declared, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." These words have become an iconic symbol of human achievement and the advancement of space exploration. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin spent a total of about 2.5 hours outside the lunar module, conducting experiments, collecting samples, and taking photographs. They planted the American flag, unveiled a plaque with an inscription, and spoke with President Richard Nixon via a telephone radio transmission. The Apollo 11 mission marked a significant leap forward in space exploration and was a testament to human ingenuity, determination, and scientific progress. It paved the way for subsequent moon missions and contributed to our understanding of the moon's geology, as well as advancing our knowledge and capabilities in space exploration. Fall of the Berlin Wall, 1989. The fall of the Berlin Wall marked a significant turning point in history. On November 9, 1989, after standing for 28 years, the wall that divided East and West Germany came down. The event symbolized the end of the Cold War era and the reunification of Germany. The fall of the Berlin Wall was indeed a momentous event in history, with far-reaching implications. The Berlin Wall was erected in 1961 by the German Democratic Republic, East Germany, as a physical and ideological barrier separating East Berlin, controlled by the Soviet Union, from West Berlin, occupied by the United States, Great Britain, and France. Its construction was a response to the large-scale emigration of East Germans to the West, which had been draining the country of its skilled labor force. For almost 3 decades, the Berlin Wall stood as a symbol of the division between the democratic and capitalist West and the communist East. It was heavily fortified with guard towers, barbed wire, and a wide death strip that served as a buffer zone. Crossing the wall was highly restricted, and over 100 people lost their lives attempting to escape East Germany. However, by the late 1980s, several factors contributed to the weakening of the Soviet Union's control over its Eastern European satellite states. The policies of Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev, such as glasnost, openness, and perestroika, restructuring, led to increased political and social reforms. In East Germany, protests against the government's authoritarian rule gained momentum, and the desire for freedom and reunification grew stronger. On November 9, 1989, East German authorities announced that citizens would be allowed to travel freely to the West. Overwhelmed by the announcement and faced with a large crowd of East Berliners at the border crossings, the border guards eventually opened the checkpoints. People flooded through the checkpoints, and celebratory scenes of East and West Germans embracing and tearing down parts of the wall were broadcast around the world. The fall of the Berlin Wall marked the beginning of the end of the Cold War. It represented a symbolic victory for democracy and freedom over communism and served as a catalyst for the reunification of Germany. In October 1990, East and West Germany officially reunified, forming a single, democratic country. Discovery of penicillin, 1928. Scottish scientist Alexander Fleming's accidental discovery of penicillin revolutionized the field of medicine. In 1928, Fleming noticed that a mold called Penicillium notatum killed bacteria. This accidental finding led to the development of antibiotics, saving millions of lives and transforming modern medicine. Alexander Fleming, a Scottish bacteriologist, made this discovery while working at St. Mary's Hospital in London. In September 1928, he was conducting experiments with bacteria known as Staphylococcus, and he had accidentally left a petri dish containing the bacteria uncovered on his lab bench while he was away on vacation. Upon returning, Fleming noticed that a mold called Penicillium notatum had contaminated the dish. However, to his surprise, he observed that the bacteria near the mold were being destroyed. Fleming hypothesized that the mold released a substance that had antibacterial properties. He named this substance penicillin. Fleming's accidental finding was significant because it revealed the potential for using mold-derived substances to combat bacterial infections. However, it took several more years and the work of other scientists, notably Howard Florey and Ernst Chain, to develop penicillin into a usable form. In the early 1940s, Florey and Chain, along with their team at the University of Oxford, successfully purified and concentrated penicillin, making it available in sufficient quantities for medical use. Penicillin was first used on a human patient in 1941, and it proved to be incredibly effective in treating bacterial infections, particularly those caused by Staphylococcus and Streptococcus bacteria. The development of penicillin marked the beginning of the era of antibiotics, which are substances capable of killing or inhibiting the growth of bacteria. This breakthrough revolutionized medicine by providing a powerful tool to combat infectious diseases. Antibiotics have since saved millions of lives and have become an essential component of modern medical treatments. Invention of the Internet. The invention of the Internet indeed revolutionized communication, information access, and global interaction. While the development of the Internet involved numerous contributors, Vint Cerf and Robert Kahn played vital roles in its creation. In the 1960s, the United States government established the Advanced Research Projects Agency, ARPA, now known as the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA. To support scientific research and development, ARPA aimed to connect various computer networks, allowing researchers to share information and resources. One significant milestone in the Internet's creation was the development of packet switching, a method of transmitting data in small, discrete units called packets. This concept enabled efficient and reliable data transmission across different networks. In the early 1960s, Paul Barron, Donald Davies, and Leonard Kleinrock independently proposed packet switching as a solution to network communication. In the late 1960s, ARPA initiated the creation of the ARPANET, the precursor to the Internet. Robert Kahn, a computer scientist, and Vint Cerf, a computer scientist and electrical engineer, worked on the design and implementation of the TCP/IP, Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol, which became the foundation of the Internet. TCP/IP provided a standardized method for data transmission and ensured compatibility among different networks. In 1969, the first message was sent over the ARPANET between two computers at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, and Stanford Research Institute, SRI. This event marked the birth of the Internet. Over the following years, the ARPANET expanded, connecting various research institutions and universities across the United States. In the 1970s, the development of email protocols and protocols for transferring files further enhanced the capabilities of the Internet. In 1983, the ARPANET switched to using TCP/IP as its standard protocol, leading to the establishment of a global network of interconnected networks that we now recognize as the Internet. As the Internet grew, it became accessible to the public, and its applications diversified. The World Wide Web, invented by Tim Berners-Lee in the late 1980s, introduced a user-friendly interface for navigating and accessing information on the Internet. The D-Day invasion, also known as Operation Overlord, was a pivotal moment in World War II. It was a massive coordinated effort by the Allied forces to establish a foothold in Nazi-occupied Western Europe and begin the liberation of the continent. On June 6, 1944, a combined force of American, British, Canadian, and other Allied troops landed on the beaches of Normandy, located on the northern coast of France. The invasion involved an intricate plan that included extensive aerial and naval bombardment, paratrooper drops behind enemy lines, and the amphibious assault on the beaches. The 5 main landing sectors of the Normandy coast were given code names: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. The American forces landed at Utah and Omaha, while the British and Canadians landed at Gold, Juno, and Sword. Each landing sector presented its own set of challenges, with Omaha Beach being the most heavily fortified and facing strong resistance from the German defenders. Despite facing intense enemy fire and heavy casualties, the Allied forces persevered and managed to secure their objectives. The successful invasion allowed the Allies to establish a crucial beachhead in Normandy and begin the push to liberate France and ultimately defeat Nazi Germany. The D-Day invasion was a turning point in the war, as it opened up a second front in Western Europe, diverting German forces from the Eastern Front where they were already engaged in fierce battles with the Soviet Union. Over the following weeks and months, the Allied forces gradually pushed inland, liberating towns and cities and driving the German forces back.